I want to thank you so much, dear Femi, for the time. Why don't we start with how is Berlin today? Tell us something about Berlin. You are living in Berlin, right?
Yeah, I live in Berlin. Thank you for having me, seriously, and I appreciate you for what you do. And everyone has a story to share, so that's really amazing. Yeah, Berlin today. I mean, Berlin, interesting right now. It has some sunshine looking out the window, um, and which is going to be a good effect on people. I can imagine because it's winter and the winters are very dark and cold, over here. Um, so right now, I haven't been outside, but I can imagine a lot of people are outside soaking up the sun um, before it goes away again, and which then will obviously cause a more positive mental effect to the spirit of the streets, should I say?
Hello and welcome to Obehi podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started into this episode. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, but over here in Italy, well, it's not pretty beautiful this morning looking at the weather, but it's okay. We'll try to make sense out of it. So let's say it is cool, though.
Yeah.
So for how long have you been in Berlin?
I've been here for 5 years now, actually, which is longer than I thought I would be here for. Um, but I'm also, um, I guess, kind of grateful for it as well. There's some good things here that has come out, and there's just like there's a base here that I can use in Berlin. Uh, and how long have you been in Italy?
Well, I've been here since 2004. That's quite a long time.
What city are you in?
I'm in Verona, another part of it. The
Okay,
capital city here is Venice.
Venice. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool.
All
Oh,
right.
wow.
Okay, now let's dig down a little bit. I want to believe that you were born in Nigeria, or maybe I don't know. So tell me about that. Let's understand
Yeah.
you personally.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I was born in Nigeria, in Lagos, or not, even more Ogun State. Or maybe I was born in Lagos. Um, and I lived there for the first year of my life, and then I moved to London with my parents, and I basically was raised in London. We would go back and forth to Nigeria here and there, and I grew up with my siblings there. And but my background is I'm a I was a professional dancer for a long time and studying contemporary dance, ballet, hip hop, and different parts of the African traditional dances, some different parts of the Indian traditional dances, tap, modern, and anything that was movement. I just studied. I was very fascinated by it and studied the science of it. Um, and while I was doing that, I used to um, worked on a lot of event production because I was really interested in curating spaces. And then I kind of, from the dancing, kind of led me to a lot more acting as well and modeling. And
Okay,
yeah,
so I'm sort of curious about how you started with dance and also your yeah, yeah. Is there something that you enter by accident or something that from your very early childhood you sort of get an inspiration for, maybe because somebody in your family has been a dancer? I'm trying to understand how you got the inspiration from.
yeah, it wasn't really like early childhood. I mean, there's a few different inspirations, but because like, dance is part of expression, but in terms of like choosing to focus on wanting to study dance, that came more from my secondary school, where at the age of 12, I was in secondary school, and they offered like everyone had to do dance, just like everyone had to do physical education, and everyone had to do math, science, or English. So they offered all of these things, and then when I got to start to choose what I wanted to do for my GCSEs in year 9, year 10, um, one of the categories was between dance, physical education, um, and something else. And originally, I had chosen physical education, but I had learned that it wasn't physical. It was just theory work. So I chose dance because I really enjoyed it, and I had an amazing dance teacher, Ray Outkirk, who was also another black man, another mixed race man, who was teaching us dance and teaching us these different genres of dance, um, and truly, actually, I kind of saw a business opportunity when I was younger. Um, when I look back on it, if I can say it that way, where we were studying some of the history of dance, contemporary dance specifically, and my biggest question in life is always just kind of why or why not, and I didn't see any Black British dancers represented in the books, so I kind of felt like maybe I could be the first, um, and as I got to study it further in uni and stuff, I mean, I learned there was many incredible Black British dancers indeed. But yeah, it led me on that journey, and then also spiritually, um, I'm someone who believes in God and has my own personal relationship with God and Jesus, and spiritually, I just felt like there was an opening there where God was just like, "This is the pathway you should take," and my parents being Nigerian and being just being Nigerian um, who didn't have this experience of anyone being a dancer and also or being successful in dancing. Um, yeah, they found it a bit hard to understand and to also um, accept, but they came around eventually when I could basically show them what it was doing and where it was taking me and like the tours that I was getting and the jobs I was getting, and I got my degree from it. And yeah, so I think as soon as I did my first tour, which was straight out of university, and that tour taught me, I was working for a company called Deviate Physical Theatre, and that tour took me to the States and Europe, and all paid, etc., and paid well. I think they started to see that, oh wow, there's a space here for me. Um, so yeah, and but their tough love also made me recognize I wasn't privileged to like some other dancers, especially white dancers. I'm not privileged to be just an artist. I have to be a business mind, and an artist together because um, I have to make it work.
Absolutely.
Um, that's how that's how I got there, and it's been a blessing ever since.
That's interesting. That's interesting. All right, now, is there any way that maybe, yeah, because now you spend a lot of time in the UK before you move to Germany, no? Is there
Yeah,
any way that maybe throughout your evolutionary process in the UK, no, when you were trying to find your foot in this artistic work, that maybe your African culture had any influence in you? I'm trying to
yeah.
see that there's any way the Yoruba culture influenced you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, just to add on, like I also lived a lot in the States because of my work, and then I lived a lot around the world for just touring. But yeah, for sure. Like my parents are very great at. I mean, when we were younger, I had been to Nigeria, a few times in different points of my life. I think when I was 10, when I was 15, when I was 18. So all of those kind of like that information of just seeing black and brownness in a regular basis, the class and the status was different from the UK. Yeah, just and growing up in different churches as well, and yeah, definitely I would say the Yoruba, my Yoruba culture is very. I don't know. I can't say if it's very present. It's present because I am Yoruba, and and so it comes through in specifically within my understanding of music or my body responding to when I am dancing. I haven't danced for a long time, but when I am dancing, what that does to me, the frequencies of certain drums or even just understanding like the flow of language, because I understand. I would say 60 now, 60%, 70% Yoruba now. It used to be 80, 100, but I haven't been around it for a long time. So, but I don't speak it. So, which is something I'm looking forward to learning this later or early next year. But because of the understanding of Yoruba, it's the fluidity and the the perspectives as well, and especially like Yoruba spirituality, um, has all definitely added towards my being and kind of my outlook as well of taking up space within this world as a Nigerian black man, and then as a you know being Nigerian and our confidence that we have sometimes, which I didn't realize was a I mean, it's everywhere, but I only got to learn recently in the last years, few years that um, there's a specific Nigerian confidence and maybe stubbornness that we have, um, which is also very fascinating because I think some of that power comes through in my own ideas, but yeah, I'm happy to be Nigerian, and I'm also even more happy. I mean, I know my siblings were born in London, but I'm very grateful to be born in Nigeria and then moved to London. There's something I don't fully know the connection yet, but I know there's something special there, to have that kind of connection
Absolutely.
there.
Absolutely. For me, as Nigeria, we really have to be very proud of who we are, our
Mm.
culture, and also because I don't know, maybe we're a little bit rebellion spirit somehow
Yeah,
in us, but
yeah,
we are just different from many other Africans, no? You look at, for example, the invention of Nollywood, or maybe if you want to look at the history of Nigeria, because in many other parts of Africa, we also had dictatorship. But in the case of Nigeria, you never had a time that the military dictator just came and stayed for 15 years or 10 years. He usually stay for a short period of time, then he's gone, another person comes in. So even the whole concept of democracy somehow is enough. We are not afraid to say who we are. So
yeah,
I think we really should be proud of who we are as Nigerian. And
yeah.
yeah. Even in the artistic world, we are very expressive. We are not afraid. That is something we really should be. I don't know how much that is influencing you. I'm going back again to the same question that I asked you.
Like for me, I didn't realize that we had that difference in terms of the Nigerians compared to other African countries until I just met some people who were speaking to me about it, and I was like, wow, from other African countries. But yeah, that influence of just that rebellious, like I think what you said, and or not standing or not taking shit, not taking I don't know if I can swear on this, sorry. Not taking like anything for um we also have a history, right? We've been through a lot of pain and a lot of and we've seen our wealth kind of taken away from us in different ways. So and this is me speaking as a Nigerian born, British raised, privileged person. Let alone my cousins who are born and raised in Nigeria and seeing their experiences and the stuff they had to deal with. But yeah, there's a power there that is it's very raw, and the older we get, the more we embrace it. But it's always been embraced in my household. Which is there's a comedian that says his mum would tell him, outside this is London, but inside this house is Nigeria, and very much that was my upbringing. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
And now, in your artistic work, in what you do, in your dancing, in your creativity, and just now we talk also about the collaboration that you have done. Then we move on to the project that you have in Berlin, a very interesting project. But I'm trying to see now, in Nigeria, we're talking of the Nigerian spirit, in the like of, for example, Fela. These are guys
Mm,
that have used music to pass their message to the
mm,
government. Look at, for example, through the harsh period of dictatorship in Nigeria, Fela was
mm,
not afraid. He was there to speak the truth to the people and to the power that be in Nigeria. So that is
mm,
a kind of liberty, kind of freedom, if we want to even call it like that. In that, as an artist, you are sort of different from every other person's in that you see the truth differently from other people. So not just that you see it, but you also say it. This is how you see it. So that is
mm.
what I found to be very interesting about many Nigerian artists. So if you were to look at the message, what kind of a message are you really sending with your artistic work?
That's a great question, and I'm grateful for the reference, because definitely when I got to learn about Fela at a young age was very influential for me to learn. Yeah, just to understand the power that he he utilized by utilizing the systems around him. Um, though there were many factors. Yeah, essentially the people's champ, it was always something really important to me. And so my message for me is I'm very interested in, because I have a lot of visual artwork coming out soon, and um, conversations that I'm having soon. But my message through my own work is that I've been very fascinated by representation. I think representation is really like, and advertising is very fascinating to me, and especially as a dark skinned black man, a black person. And I know there's other people who are darker than me, but just growing up in the UK and asking the question of what are people, where are people who look like me on TV or on in the media, and what are they doing and how are they represented? And very often they're represented in ways that are seem lower class, or maybe tokenism. So I'm quite, and then being someone who's been to Nigeria in that time and seeing, like, representation of black and brown bodies are all over, from the police to, not that is they are necessarily the best thing, but just representation of these statuses of all black and brown bodies in all different ways. I think I just have a question. I just, so my message is really just like, what if we use advertising, does the techniques of advertising in a way that's more powerful for people who look like me? Like, what does that do? What will happen to young black children if they saw images of someone like me on a regular basis, and not just doing the most popular or well-known things that they put us into sometimes, which is just entertainment, or even just within entertainment, which is not just like dance music or acting, which is also incredible for itself, but like maybe getting to know someone who's a famous creative director and understanding those roles, or producers, or just kind of like really expanding the definition of, and the representation of what it is to be a black person. And like you said, everyone has their story, and and that comes will come into Black Brown Berlin for a minute as well, which is, we really believe in trying to like represent and share everyone's perspective, and their own story, because everyone is so nuanced, especially as black and brown bodies are all so nuanced, and we can grow up in the same way, but we all have a different story to tell, and every story is valid. Um, so I'm just very interested in that message. I mean, in the message of um, what stories are being told, and so how to challenge or suggest other stories that could be told. Yeah. So I look forward to some of my own visual artwork coming out that I'm working on to hopefully add to that message. When it does, I'll send it to you. But yeah, those are some of the conversations that I'm trying to bring out. And again, also just kind of similarly to maybe Fella, it's just as a I'm someone who listens to the ground a lot. Listens to the people a bit more. I try to, and just try to understand what are the queries and questions that are happening within society. Within people around me. And actually that's how this organization that I am part of, this startup social enterprise, Black Brown Berlin, was created because um, people around me, black and brown bodies from different communities, from the LGBTQIA communities, from cisgendered communities, were just telling me stories of abuse, or unfairness and inequality, being in Berlin. And so, in my own expression, I decided it would be good to create a space where we celebrate black and brown bodies in a way that we just, share their stories, but also highlight spaces that are safer for black and brown bodies to come and hang out, or go to a party, or go to events, and just be like a directory of information, basically. Anyway, long answer, but I'm using all of that to say that um, the message for me is representation again, and seeing ourselves empowered in many ways and factors, and also sea level, in all business, in all things, just why not? And when I talk to brands and businesses, it's also the same question, like, why wouldn't you want to have more representation of black and brown bodies when that means you also get more money in your pocket, you know? It's just little questions like that. So why not?
Absolutely important. And why not is a very big question to ask, no? Because
Mm,
sometimes we try to fit in, we try to fit it into the structure, into the little square that have been created, no? Thinking that everybody should always be there, but it's not. We don't always have to be there, no. So we
mm,
come back to this rebellion spirit again, if we want to call it like that, no. For Nigeria, we are not comfortable, no. Uh,
yeah.
why can't we
Okay.
tell our story, no?
Mm,
Look at, for example, Nollywood, no. When I remember in 2007, if I'm not mistaken, we invited Jetta Amata to our film festival here in Verona, the Verona
yeah.
International Film Festival. So then Jetta was saying that when they started to make Nollywood films, some of the first reaction they got from other people, especially maybe when they go, he said this particular experience. I think he went to France to present some of his film. Then some people
Mm,
were saying, but these are not Africa. These are not the Africa they are used to, no?
mm,
Which means that that was a success, meaning that these
yeah.
Nigerians have managed to tell their story different from the conventional way of looking at African as dirty, as beggars, as hungry people, as people who always need help. But of course, even the story that Jetta Amata and the story that many other Africans are telling, particularly looking at the new way of narration, of course, there are still poverty in it, but you see the human being in the story, not just
Exactly.
people that are begging, that need your help. You also see beautiful things. You see in Lagos, of course, there are also bad things in Lagos, but they also show you the life, the real
Yeah.
people. Also beautiful people, beautiful cars, beautiful houses, family, growing up. Of course, also having conflict because in Europe, Europeans also have conflict among themselves. So
Yeah.
you cannot always just tell one-sided story. And I think the Nigerian famous writer Chimamanda has also made mention of it that we should be careful of the single way of seeing story, which he
Yeah.
called the danger of single story, because
Yeah.
there are different ways of seeing the issue. That is also why we say that everyone has a story to share. You can't
Yeah. Exactly.
you can't just limit it to only your own point of view. No, it is not possible. All right, now I find another thing very interesting, Femi, that you said you convert concept into reality. That is your
Mm,
mission. Tell me
yeah.
something about that.
Thank you. I mean, and those are very well said about sharing stories. My blessing is that in my heart and heart, I guess the title would be a creative director or concept designer or whatever. I don't know the titles. I just make my own titles, but I love turning dreams into reality. It's definitely a blessing to try to work on, and again with the why not question, it's like, okay, what does it need to take to make this thing that I have in my mind into the reality space, and that comes also from, like, again, just some of my dance background of uh when I was younger and starting this, I said I'm going to study dance, get my degree, and I'm going to have a great job straight away, and those sort of things that exactly happened. I got my degree. I went into university at 16 or 17 because I was offered to go early. I got my degree, and then I seen, even before I finished my degree, I was already in a job, touring America. And so it was, and America being like the big name at the time of, like, oh, America's big. But the reason why I say all of that is because it's just like anything I believe in the power of imagination, and anything we can imagine can be made into reality. Sometimes it takes a bit hard, longer, and certain skills, but especially with technology, even more and more, like, things can be accessible, and or there can be a version of it. And so I love turning concepts into reality or dreams into reality because one, they're unique. Two, what would it be like if you could if you could do what you dream, like what does that look like? If there was no limitations, and that's how I start with every idea with people that I work with is what would be the most ultimate dream if there was no money and limitations, because usually money's the limitation. What would that look like? And then we start to break it down to like, okay, what can we afford, and what can we get access to? But like, let's make it as close to the dream as possible. And there's that saying, if you aim for the stars, no, what was it? Yeah, aim for the stars, and if you miss, land on the moon. You know,
That is beautiful.
and getting things close to that because then it makes it very unique and special in its reality. So yeah, I'm extremely grateful for that skill, and a lot of that takes organization, connection, and get to know who's who, and but it also takes learning, and that's the part I love the most. It's like I get to learn, and I'm always kind of learning a lot and just kind of reading like what's just kind of, I don't know, new in maybe technology or in ideas or different access points, and the power of collaborating worlds together, is also interesting to me, and we see that with music, or we see that with fashion, or we see that with engineering. I mean, architecture is one great example of some greatest architectures have been architects who've actually gone to study dance or have gone to study bodies or science, and like you can see some of their work in their architecture, and it's become one of the most their work has become one of the world's well-known work. So it's just the collaborating of minds is always interesting to me, and actually architecture is also a good example of turning concepts into reality, because that's also another imagination, you know that someone had, um you know with their specific rules and regulations within that, and have put that onto paper, and that paper has turned into a physical practical thing. And yeah, I'm just like, why not? Why? What would that look like if we could all do that? No matter what that case is, and we're all working towards that slowly. But that's what I do. That's my aim. Concepts into reality.
I see that you have also collaborated with Mayowa. Can you tell us something about that, about your collaboration with her, and what exactly you were doing with her?
Yeah, Maiwa, my sister, who I love so much. Everyone check out Maiwa, Maiwa's World, if you can, on Instagram or maiwasworld.com. Yeah, she and Ode are a really special being, and I was, first of all, she's like family to me, who I got to meet in Berlin, which I'm blessed with. And originally, I was kind of helping them DJ. Um, I was DJing for her comedy event in Berlin, and then she decided to do like a special, and I said I could help produce it for her, and so I kind of like, concepts into reality. I was running as her production manager for that specific event, which was sold out, and I had such a great time. And yeah, we're currently talking on some next projects that we're trying to do soon as well. But yeah, she's an incredible renegade of a queen, and also someone who's also very much like someone who's very much also Nigerian. Who's just like, I want to do this. And this is what I'm going to do, and I love it. I love seeing that power, but she's also very reflective, and also very people's champion. Like really listens, and really listens to the voices that are not being heard, and tries to uplift those voices a lot, So um, yeah, so there'll be some more stuff in the future we're like working towards, but yeah, we are in close capacity of building our tribe, and they are very much part of my tribe, and I think I am of theirs as well.
That's interesting. Thank you, Femi. All right, now
Yeah.
looking at your collaboration with Mayowa, and looking at the African diaspora, because that is actually our main target, no? Because
Mm,
we care about our
mm,
narration, our version of the story. Uh, we are not just numbers. Yes, we
mm,
are millions of people in the diaspora, but we are not just number. We are also able to shape a narration.
mm,
So how do you look at the possibility of more collaboration among the African diaspora?
It's in my heart for sure. Like I would love to do that. And I mean, I've been getting to meet some amazing people who are actually often back and forth between um, whether it's Nigeria or Kenya and South Africa and Berlin. I've actually gotten to meet them here, which is really nice to like just keep conversations up about what a collaboration can look like, you know. And for me, I am. If anyone hears this and they want to reach out to me, please let me know. But it's just about finding the legalities of things become the limitations. You know, just like what does that look like in terms of residency or travel or pay or if there is payment, like how does that look like? And but however, there's still like other programs that I'm also looking into to try to work or collaborate with, and I don't know, just kind of see if I can offer my own um, voice there too. And I'm someone who I don't necessarily like to come into a place and colonize a place or anything, but I like to come into a place and just listen to what's happening and see the gap and just be like, oh, okay, ask a question like, how about this, you know, in this gap? And so um, yeah, I would love to, or if anyone wants to invite me over for any work, I would love to come to any parts of the African continent, you know, especially Nigeria, to really share a different perspective and embrace a different kind of voice. And I'm hoping, like I said, with some of my own visual work that I'm producing, will also create some doors for me to also do that, you know. But yeah, I am so excited about hearing and seeing those voices, especially voices that are unheard and also nuanced, you know, very much nuanced to like a different story, you know. So basically, yes, it's my answer. Like, love that.
Now, within the area of Berlin where you currently stay,
Mm,
okay, I know we are getting to Black and Brown Berlin just now, which is a very fantastic project, like I said before.
thank you.
How do you see the collaboration among different Africans? This time, we're not talking only among Nigerian, because what we are looking for is where the European languages in Africa is no longer considered a barrier, where we
Mm,
can talk across countries, across ethnic background, and work for common interests.
yeah,
So, can you show me some example in Berlin, other than the Black and Brown Berlin, of course, because that is your project?
yeah, for sure. I mean, there are amazing projects and organizations here who are doing incredible stuff, and they are very much also very connected to the diaspora in many ways, and such as Iyoto or Sangano or Sangano Hub or you know, who else am I thinking? ISD or um, My Urbanology, and just so many names to say. But and the work that's been done also is like the collaborations here are beautiful because there's without one providing access is one thing, but finding information also is another thing. You know, and making sure information is accessible to all peoples. You know, especially people who are here from the continent of Africa. Um, there's also like just kind of like work that's been done without having to speak. You know, and just like whether it's through imagery or through video or you know, through people telling their own stories. You know, and and that being displayed on different platforms, you know, to be shared, and then trying to make those platforms also have access to bigger platforms that might be more European based, but actually making sure that their story is told not just to Black and Brown people, but their story is told to everyone, so that their representation continues to be shown no matter what. So some good examples are. And I now can't remember. There's a organization that goes back and forth between Germany and I can't remember which part of Africa exactly, and brings artists over and or bring people over and do some kind of like innovation strategy ideas and the same with like engineering as well. And um, I can't really remember all the names of the projects actually. I know there's also Lajuba that does incredible work, and again, very much connected to like just also African diaspora in Berlin, as well as recognizing the power in Africa, um, African people or folks in the continent of Africa, of course. There's PAD Week, which is a Pan African Descent Week by IOTO, Each One Teach One in Berlin, and that's really beautiful. Like again, a collaboration between like the different ideas and ideologies of different Pan Africanists who are also trying to like push things forward within their own cities within Europe, but also within their own cities within the different lands of Africa. And yeah, there's some incredible work happening. And we're just Black Man Berlin is just one voice of many. But and we do things in our own way of like visual work, especially. But I always welcome the more the merrier. The more that we take up space, the better for all of us in the long run.
But now let's move to Black Brown Berlin. That is the
Mm.
real project of the day. So tell us, how did it get started? How did you found this project?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, so Black Brown Berlin really started from there was there's a Facebook group called Black in Berlin, and they are incredible, and I'm so grateful for them. And when Facebook was quite popular at the time, it was a very useful tool, and still is a useful networking tool. But for me, being in Berlin, and I lived in central Berlin at the time, so I didn't really see a lot of black and brown bodies in general because of my work. I was trying to just find events to go to for black and brown people and using different taglines and search taglines or different just things that I was interested in. And then I found this Facebook group and they had stuff, but because of Facebook the way it was working, you had to scroll through information to get it. And then so there was that, and then another thing was just some of the stories that I was being told to me by other black and brown bodies who were just sharing like, oh, don't go to this place because they are rude there or they're racist there. Or don't go to this place, etc., etc. So again, the question came like, oh, why isn't there just an information point where you go to and you just know where to go if you want to find out what to do that day and you're black and brown. I had been thinking about that for a while, and then something happened again where someone had asked me, "Hey, do you know where to go?" And actually, I was with Maya, funny enough, when that happened, and my boy Ibra, who I got a great videographer and photographer and director, had asked me, "Hey, like, do you know where to go in Berlin, like for black and brown bodies?" And it was then I decided that okay, we need to make this platform. This needs to be done, and so I made it in December 2018, and it was released like basically the end of 2018, and reached out to a lot of venues and clubs and letting them know that this is what we do, and we also like will also like hold clubs and places accountable, for like anything that might happen in terms of racial attacks or anything that happens in their club. If they say that they are a safe space, we will challenge them if anything that we hear happens. So and that's what we very much did from the beginning as a directory of events, and then quite quickly became like this connector of people and getting to know so much different incredible stories within the community that we just started building into this kind of communications and media um, social enterprise. And we're still building, and we've been working with little brands here and there, trying to like build partnerships and bring in black and brown bodies into spaces that we should all be in, or we should have access to if we want to, and some of those spaces are more whiter spaces, and and you know, I just kind of my stance is I just go and ask them, hey, you said that you represent all different diversities, but how comes I don't really see people who look like me in your offices? And that's your own thing, but let's just start a conversation about that. And then we try to bring those solutions. So we have a resource of talent that we know, And if you're looking for black and brown managers or directors or any level, we know where to go, and so hire us, and so that's how our business started to become, also like a strand of recruitment, but yes, still also a strand of like representation and media, and yeah, we're building, and we're just trying to, also get funding if anyone wants to support us, and feeling gracious to send us money. That's fine, please do. But we're building, and we're trying to like, we have a dream of what we're trying to be and represent in different cities as well. But like again, things take some things that we want to make into reality, as it may take some money needed, and we're all slowly getting there. It's me and two other co-founders, Chanel Uleli Knight and Ria Ramjan. Um, and yeah, they've been amazing, and they are in Berlin, and yeah, we're all just trying to work hard, and I'm building a resource information point for all black and brown bodies for people who live in Berlin or in Germany, and people coming to Berlin. That's really important. So then there's this cross connection, for people to feel safe to, they know that when I come to Germany, I have a community there, and we're really loud about that. So that's Black Brown Berlin, and that's kind of how it started, and it's taken off very. I'm very blessed to say it's people are really are very loyal to it. We have a lot of people supporting us, but the people who are supporting us are also very loyal, and that's really incredible to watch. And we're very grateful for that. So we're just trying to listen to the people and see what we can offer in our own voices.
Now, is there any way that what you are doing have to deal with the topic of maybe racism? Though that is actually not what we are taking on today. Though we do talk about it, we do talk about it even in detail, as to
Yeah.
how it is configured into the system, whether you're looking
Mm.
at the UK, in Italy, in France, or in other parts. But today we are not only taking out that argument, but I'm just trying to know if there is any way what you do have any relevance to that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, like our motto is, black celebration, basically the celebration of black and brownness, and you know, and that does mean then we are connected in many aspects. Sometimes some aspects are just like we are just here being present and saying that we exist, and hopefully giving a space for others to say that they exist comfortably, and that by itself can be an attack, if you want, to the racism and systems that are placed here. But also very directly, we also are part of like conversations and projects and festivals and things that are also very deep in terms of the conversation of and in terms of the conversation of discrimination, and I say like practically putting work in to say like, okay, well, what do we do here, or not what do we do, using certain government officials, etc., saying like, let's have a conversation, let's make something practically work, and let's create some practical changes here. So our work is, they say being black is being just living black is already political, and so we are just trying to um, embrace those different aspects, and you know s- try to be a voice for others in when if there isn't a voice, or just try to be um or almost be the sacrifice in a way of like, we only stand tall because of the people who came before us, and these other organizations I mentioned are incredible, and we stand tall because of them. But now with our confidence and fortunate youth, let's say, that compared to these other organizations, we come with like doors down. It's like, why are we not here? Why is there racism happening here? We want change, and we try to be a voice like that, as well as other organizations as well. So yeah, I mean, racism plays into many aspects, and we see it daily, even just like um, bureaucracy here, and access to that information. Just again, access to information is my thing. It's like the power that we can give people is just like trying to say like, hey, here's all the information, at least and find it easy to access. So then People can then choose from there what to do and how they want to move. But when we don't have the information, like we don't know how to go further, and that was one of my things growing up is that how do I make sure I have the information, so then I can choose what I want. My parents, they didn't have information of like I said, like a Nigerian dancer who's done pretty well for himself. But what would it look like if they had that information? What would my struggle look like? If they had that information. So, yeah, information is basically how we are also trying to battle um, the different levels of racism and systemic oppressions um, over here, and sorry, specifically making information accessible is how we try to battle that and displaying black and brown joy in many ways and stories in many ways.
Mm. Thank you for that. All right, you see, where you are is very important for us as African diaspora, and also for the contemporary African history. But you know that Berlin, well, where the Europeans sat down and divided Africa up into different countries that we have today, no? And looking at it even from that historical point of view, it is very important that African diaspora should have a big base in Berlin. Another place is maybe you can talk of Rome, like Washington D.C. and Paris. These are the people that are actually controlling Africa. They are the one that are responsible for many things that is happening in Africa. But of course, I'm not saying let's organize army and start fighting. That is not the point. The point is that we need to understand the power of information, the importance of organizing information.
Yeah,
So, looking at it from that perspective, of course, like you said, it is true for the point, for the fact that you just stand up and say you are an African, you already started political. I understand it. If you're a
yeah,
European, you stand up and say you're a European, and they don't look at it as anything wrong. But you come out and say you are an African, everybody, you are not a suspect, as if you have committed a crime. No, it's okay. You're going to have to stand for yourself anyway. That is, as an African, you must know that you will stand for yourself, or that because nobody's going to stand for you. That is also a very basic, no. So what
yeah.
I'm actually driving at there is that how robust is the diaspora community in Berlin?
Mm,
What kind of influence do they have in terms of being able to negotiate, being able to talk with the power that be, in terms of being able to shape their own future? That is actually what I'm trying to ask there.
they are robust here for sure. Like I there is just like an unapologeticness here of and also being here has made me even more unapologetic about myself and who I am and my blackness and my culture and the organizations here who are doing incredible things are just fierce. There is no, and I would like to just mention also like a lot of them are mostly led by uh, femme bodies or women and women or some cisgendered or some not cis, but like female bodies, basically. Sorry, femme bodies. Sorry, is what I say specifically. And those are just so to reflect that power, the that power there. But there are people doing incredible things who are also working behind the scenes, connected with like the 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 power structures, who are the decision makers in a lot of things on in the city and in the country. Um, and some of that work takes longer for sure, and it's an ongoing uphill battle. Um, one example is Kwesi, I can't remember his last name, but Kwesi, who also works for Citizen of Europe and just really working behind the scenes of doing stuff, and his wife as well, working in diversity of arts and or Aminata. I see. I can't even remember the last name, but Aminata, who works. I think she's MP or she works within the government, and she's one just like a fierce being, just kind of taking up space, you know. And so they're robust and they are working, and there's been a lot of shifting, but it's continuously, an uphill struggle for sure. Anywhere, and it's something that you said that because that's still something I'm also like just kind of seeing how do I feel about that, which is like Berlin was a place where they took Africa and said like we split it up, and I'm here, and it's just like I don't know how I feel about it yet. Still, I'm still like figuring out what it is that that representation is. But there is definitely how do I say you can see that power or that structure come through in a lot of the microaggressions here, from specifically white Germans, this status, but um, like ISD Bund, they have done, and IOTA have done incredible things like changing street names that were like um, reflected a lot of racism. They've been able to like protest and work on policies to bring their names down and replace them with black and brown Germans who have contributed to the city. So there's movement, there's movement happening, and it's incredible. I had to like give it up to those organizations and others that I haven't mentioned or forgotten to mention um, because they are stern with it and are just trying to get the support to continue to grow, and I'm sure it's the same in other cities. But what happens is, if you focus on your city or the city that you're in for a little bit, and you connect with other cities, someone, Saber in Frankfurt or others, who are doing amazing stuff. Like you start to connect and you start to be like, oh, okay, we're on the same kind of journey. And what are your struggles? Oh, my struggles are similar. Okay, how did you battle that? You start to share that information together with other, leaders in a way, and then maybe eventually we are all kind of building our empires together, and king queendoms, and yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, robust is we're all of African diaspora, and we are also robust as a diaspora. So that very much has come through in a lot of things over here. However, there's still and also there are people who also don't want to be part of that conversation, and that's also okay. And that's what's important for us is is to say that you can also just live your life without being having to feel like you have to always be political, and that's beautiful by itself. That's the whole point. It's just to be existing without having to show that you exist.
Now,
Yeah.
another thing I'm trying to understand, anyway, we're moving towards the end of the podcast. And I know that we have spent a lot of time here, but it's okay because what you're doing is incredibly important. So we just need time to talk about that.
Thank
Um,
you.
among you, do you how much percentage of people of the second generation, they call them in Italy, those who were born of immigrant parents? So of course they have more role to play. They are even more radical in the sense, no? Because
Mm,
these people who are, I know that in Germany there is a lot of children that were born of immigrant parent or missed parent, as it were, no?
yeah.
Now, of course, the way the system is organized in Germany is different from the way it is organized in many other places. No, in Italy is far harder for you to be considered an Italian than maybe in Germany. No, so that is playing against even the Italian system, even though they don't yet understand it. Because if you want to get the best from these people that are living in your territory, you must give them a stake in the
Yeah.
territory. In that you must make them feel part of it. This way they can sacrifice something because they are part of it.
Yeah.
These people, of course, they have always played a part in all human history. So looking at Black, Brown, Berlin,
Mm.
what is the role of the second generation, as it were?
Yeah, well said, first of all, and very beautifully said. And you said every place has its struggles for sure. For me and my co-founders, it's when none of us are German born, which is also very interesting because it allows us to, um, like we recognize that, and we also recognize how that also allows us to see things just a bit differently because we are not born in the system here. Although we work with a lot of German born people within our company directly, which is great too. But the reason I said that is because to answer your question, it then does allow us to kind of ask questions of like normality and say like, actually, that doesn't to our own privilege, and my own privilege as someone who has a British passport and speaks English, and in a city like Berlin that I don't speak German in, but I can get by very easily utilizing that. And what does that look like? And I have a residency because I'm British, and all of that, that privilege that I have, and asking myself. Actually, what does that look like for someone who just comes from, Nigeria without a visa, and how do they survive? And they don't speak German language or English, so like, how do they get by? And our standpoint is very much um, to also make things accessible, each community, each perspective able to have an access point and have a support system. That's kind of like also why we'll call Black Brown Berlin, because I mean the word black we use because it's the name that we as black and brown bodies are familiar with, but we were only black because they said we're black, and then so brown for us is for me was specifically the idea that well, I'm brown, you're brown, and there's different ranges of brown, and that can be from the lightest of skin of brown to the darkest, and we were trying to just be a place where people can see themselves in that and feel supported in that language as well as that context, and that's the kind of work we're doing. That's the kind of like what we stand for is to hopefully be a support system in some kind of way. We might not have all the answers, but we can definitely connect you to people who might have the answers. And that's our role. We are connectors. Like we yeah, again, we don't have the answers, but we can connect you to the people, or we can try to connect you to the right people, and the right support systems. And that's kind of how we play. So in that with that second generation kind of vibe, it is this rebellion of like, no, this should be this information should be accessible and easy to gain, and anyone who is first generation, second generation, third generation should feel as comfortable as anyone who is white German here, because like you said, they are contributing to the land, even just economically are contributing to the land being here, and or skills, and we know this, we all know that, um, even just from slavery trade, there wouldn't be any lands here if it wasn't for what our ancestors had done, and that had been forced to do, to contribute to the land, but yet still not recognized for it. So for our role, we play to like support, but also like bring recognition as well, more so, and other, like I said, other organizations are doing that, but also be very loud and proud about those things, and consistent as well. Is really important to us, and I guess um, it's easy for organizations to like stop because they're not getting the right support. So we're just trying to make sure we stay consistent in each way, because it's bigger than us. It's bigger than just this lifetime. It's hopefully a stepping stone for the next generation to be like, step higher or to stand taller on our backs, and as we stand on those who come before us as well. So
I want to thank you again, Femi, for this time. It really has been very, very nice to talk to you. All right, now to conclude this conversation, what would be your final message? Can be a kind of a thank you message to the people that are working with you. I don't know anything to conclude it. Please go.
yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I would say like just anyone watching or listening, just a big thank you to all the organizations who've been, and just well, first of all, let's go directly to Berlin. All of the amazing organizations and companies that have been in advocating for Black and Brown bodies all over, and then those same organizations saying celebration to everyone who's doing that work in Germany, Paris, France, Italy, like yourself, and UK, everywhere in the world, in Nigeria, and in just like if you, as you're advocating in whatever way you are advocating for yourself and your story, just a big up to yourself, and I appreciate you, and the people working with me, I love so dearly and very grateful for. And I guess I could say anything to anyone, it would be. Yeah, it would be Triumph. I always say Triumph, which is Try and then UMPH, and it's try understand the magnificent power of your heart, and standing in that power, represent who you are, reflect who you are, and live your best life, no matter what that looks like. Hopefully it's not hurting anyone else, but live your best life. So, um, yeah, we all have work that we're trying to do, and we just keep learning, and no one's perfect, and we just keep learning, and we keep learning and keep learning. You know. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you. And when I come to Verona, I have to hit you up for sure. But thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewanfo. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.